Hey, so, tonight I want to share something personal. I know a lot of you come here for stories about messy relationships, family drama, and those moments when everything falls apart. Well, this is one of those stories. And if I'm being honest, it's one I'm still processing. It's about the tie-in I let my ex back into my life, and it became the biggest mistake I ever made. If this kind of storytelling speaks to you, feel free to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your thoughts or your own story. I read every single one, and sometimes, knowing I'm not alone in this makes it easier to breathe. Now, die in the lights or put on your headphones, and let's begin. 2 years. That's how long it had been since I walked away from Hyan. 2 years since Id blocked his number, deleted every photo, unfriended Hyan on every platform I could think of. 2 years since Id promised myself I would never, ever let Hyan hurt me again, and I kept that promise. I really did. At first it was hard, I won't lie to you. The first few months were hell. I cried in the shower so my roommate wouldn't hear. I replayed every argument, every tie-in he made me feel small. Every moment I convinced myself it was my fault. I questioned everything. Was I too sensitive? Too demanding? Too broken to be loved? But slowly, I healed. I started going to therapy. I reconnected with friends Id lost touch with because he didn't like them. I took up painting again, something Id abandoned because he said it was a waste of tie-in. I learned how to be alone without feeling lonely. I learned how to like myself again. By the time 2 years had passed, I was in a good place. Not perfect. Healing isn't linear, but good. I had a job I loved, a small circle of people who actually cared about me, and a tiny apartment that felt like home. I was proud of myself. And then, one night, my phone buzzed. It was a message request on Instagram from Hyan. I stared at the notification for a long time. My thumb hovered over it, my heart racing. Part of me wanted to delete it without reading. Part of me was terrified of what it might say. But a much bigger part of me, the part that still carried a scar with his name on it, was curious. So I opened it. Hey, I know I have no right to message you. I know I don't deserve a response. But I've been thinking about you a lot lately, and I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for everything. I was a terrible person to you, and you didn't deserve any of it. I hope you're doing well. You deserve to be happy. I read it 3 times. It was short. Cyan play. No excuses, no long-winded explanations, just an apology. And I don't know why, but something in me softened. I sat there on my couch, staring at those words, and I felt something I hadn't felt in 2 years, a tiny crack in the wall I'd built around my heart. Because the thing is, I'd wanted this. For so long, I'd wanted Hyan to acknowledge what he did, to admit he was wrong, to see me as a person, not a punching bag for his insecurities. And now, here it was, right in front of me. I didn't respond that night. I closed the app, put my phone face down, and tried to watch a movie, but I couldn't focus. His words kept replaying in my head. I'm sorry for everything. The next morning, I told myself I wouldn't reply. I had no reason to. Id moved on. I was happy. I didn't need his apology to feel whole, but by lunchtime, Id typed out a response. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot. Short, polite, neutral. I hit send before I could change my mind. Within 5 minutes, he replied, I mean it. I've been in therapy for the past year, working on myself. I know that doesn't erase what I did, but I'm not the same person I was. I just wanted you to know that. Therapy. That word stuck with me. Because if he was in therapy, didn't that mean he was trying? Didn't that mean head changed? We started messaging back and forth. At first, it was just small talk. How's work? How's life? Do you still like that coffee shop on 5th Street? Nothing heavy, nothing dangerous. But then, little by little, the conversations got deeper. He told me about his therapy sessions, how Head realized he had anger issues stemming from his childhood. He told me about the shame he carried, how he couldn't sleep some nights knowing what Head put me through. He told me he understood if I never forgave Hyen, but he hoped one day I could. And I believed Hyen. I wanted to believe Hyen, because hearing Hyen take accountability felt like closure. It felt like proof that I wasn't crazy, that the pain I'd felt was real, that I wasn't the villain in our story. One night, about 3 weeks into our messaging, he asked if we could talk on the phone. I hesitated. Messaging felt safe. I could control the pace, step away if I needed to. But a phone call? That felt different. More inty in it, more real. But I said yes. His voice sounded different. Softer, tired. He asked how I was, really how I was, and for the first time in 2 years, I told someone the truth. I told Hyen about the nightmares I used to have, the panic attacks, the nights I couldn't get out of bed. I told Hyen how hard it had been to trust people again, and he listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't make excuses. He just listened. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then he said quietly, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I believed Hyen. We started talking more after that. Phone calls turned into video calls. Video calls turned into late-night conversations where we talked about everything and nothing. He told me about his new job, his hobbies, the books he was reading. I told Hyen about my painting, my friends, the small joys I'd found in my new life. It felt easy, comfortable, like slipping into an old sweater, and that should have been my first red flag. Because healing isn't supposed to feel easy. Growth isn't supposed to feel comfortable. But I ignored that little voice in the back of my head, the one whispering, "Be careful. You've been here before." One night, about 2 months after that first message, he said something that made my heart skip a beat. "I miss you." 3 words. That's all it took. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to say it back. Part of me wanted to hang up and block Hyen all over again. Instead, I said, "I miss you too." And I did. I missed the version of Hyen I'd fallen in love with, the one who made me laugh, who remembered my favorite songs, who used to leave little notes in my bag when I wasn't looking. I missed the good parts. And I'd convinced myself that the good parts were still there, buried under the bad. A week later, he asked if we could meet up for coffee. "Just coffee," he said. "No pressure. I just want to see you. I want to show you I'm different." I should have said no. I should have held my renown, protected my peace, remembered why I left in the first place. But I didn't. I said yes. We met at that coffee shop on 5th Street, the one we used to go to every Sunday morning. I arrived early, my hands shaking as I ordered a latte. When he walked in, I barely recognized Hyen. He looked different. Older, maybe. More tired, but also softer, somehow. Like the sharp edges I used to fear had been worn down. He smiled when he saw me. And for a moment, it felt like no Hyen had passed at all. We talked for hours. About his therapy, about my art, about the lives we'd built in the 2 years we'd been apart. He was careful with his words, gentle in a way I didn't remember Hyen being. He asked about my boundaries, about what I needed, about whether I felt safe, and I thought, maybe he really has changed. By the time we left, the sun was setting, and I felt lighter than I had in months. Like maybe, just maybe, closure didn't have to mean cutting someone out forever. Maybe it could mean forgiving them. Maybe it could mean giving them a second chance. He walked me to my car, and before I got in, he said, "Thank you for giving me this, for hearing me out. I know I don't deserve it." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. As I drove home, I felt a strange mix of hope and fear twisting in my chest. Hope that maybe this could be different. Fear that I was making a mistake. But hope won. It always does. Over the next few weeks, we kept seeing each other. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into dinner. Dinner turned into long walks through the park. where we talked about the future and hypotheticals if things were different, if we tried again, if we could start over. And slowly, without even realizing it, I started letting Hyen back in. Not all at once, just little pieces at a time. A text here, a phone call there, a shared memory that made us both laugh. I told myself it was harmless. We were just friends. Just two people who used to know each other, catching up, but deep down, I knew the truth. I was falling for Hyen again, and this time, I thought it would be different. I thought had changed. I thought it'd be safe. I was wrong. It started with flowers. Not just any flowers, my favorite flowers. White peonies, the ones I used to point out in florist windows when we'd walk past. The ones I mentioned once, maybe twice, years ago. They showed up at my door on a random Tuesday morning with a small card tucked inside. Just because. Hope these brighten your day. I stood there in my doorway, holding the bouquet, and I felt something warm spread through my chest. He remembered. After all this tie-in, he remembered. I texted Hyen a photo with a Jean-Paul thank you. They're beautiful, he replied within seconds. Not as beautiful as your smile. I bet you're smiling right now. And I was. God. I was. That should have been my second red flag, how quickly I let my guard down. How easily I fell back into the pattern of waiting for his messages, checking my phone every few minutes, feeling that little flutter in my stomach when his name popped up. But I told myself it was different this tie-in. He was different. This wasn't manipulation, this was genuine affection from someone who'd genuinely changed. The flowers became a weekly thing. Then came the coffee deliveries to my office, my exact order, down to the oat milk and extra shot of espresso. Then the playlists he'd make and send me late at night, titled things like "Songs That Remind Me of You" and "What I Should Have Said Back Then." Every gesture felt thoughtful, intentional, like he was trying to prove something, and I wanted to believe it. My friends noticed the change in me. Sarah was the first to say something. We were having brunch one Saturday, something we did every week since Id moved into my new apartment. She was mid-sentence, telling me about her disastrous Hinge date, when she stopped abruptly. "You're not listening," she said, stirring her mayonnaise with a strawberry. "I am," I protested, setting my phone face down. "Who are you texting?" "No one." "Bullshit." She leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "You've checked your phone like 6 times since we sat down. You never do that. Who is it?" I hesitated. I knew what she'd say. I knew what they'd all say. "It's Hyen, isn't it?" Her voice went flat. "Sarah, please tell me. You're not talking to Hyen again." "It's not like that," I said quickly. "We're just talking." Has apologized. Has in therapy. Has changed. Sarah sat back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Everyone says they've changed. I know. But do you remember what he did to you?" Her voice was quiet now, but sharp. "Do you remember how you showed up at my apartment at 2 in the morning, crying so hard you couldn't breathe? How you couldn't eat for weeks? How you flinched every time your phone buzzed because you thought it was Hyen?" I looked down at my plate. "I remember. Then why are you doing this?" "Because people can change, Sarah. Because maybe he deserves a second chance. Because maybe I deserve to see if this could be different." She didn't say anything for a long tie-in. Then she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "I love you. You know that. But I'm scared for you." "I know," I whispered. "But I need to do this. I need to know." She nodded slowly, but I could see the worry in her eyes. I should have listened to her. By the end of the second month, we were seeing each other almost every day. It wasn't official, we hadn't put a label on it. Hadn't had the talk about what we were doing. But it felt like we were dating. It felt like we were building something. He'd show up at my apartment after work with takeout from my favorite Thai place. We'd watch movies on my couch, his arm around my shoulders, my head resting against his chest. It felt safe, familiar. He'd tell me about his therapy sessions, how his therapist was helping Hyen work through his anger, his fear of abandonment, his tendency to project his insecurities onto others. He'd talk about the progress he was making, the tools he was learning, the person he was becoming. And I'd listen, proud of Hyen, believing every word. One night, about 3 months in, we were lying in my bed, just lying there, fully clothed, talking in the dark the way we used to. He turned to face me, his hand reaching up to brush a strand of hair from my face. "I know I don't deserve you," he said softly. "I know I hurt you in ways I can never take back. But I want you to know, I'm in love with you." I never stopped. My breath caught. "I don't expect you to say it back," he continued. "I just needed you to know. Because I'm not going to mess this up again. I'm not going to lose you again." I didn't say anything. I just looked at Hyen, at the vulnerability in his eyes, and I felt my walls crumble. "I love you too," I whispered, and I meant it. He kissed me, then slow and gentle, like he was afraid I'd disappear. And for the first time in 2 years, I felt whole. I felt like I'd come home. We made it official a week later. He changed his relationship status on Facebook. He posted a photo of us on Instagram, just our hands intertwined, captioned, "Second chances." He introduced me to his coworkers at a happy hour. He invited me to meet his family again. Everything felt right. He'd pick me up from work, surprise me with little gifts, leave notes on my bathroom mirror that said things like, "You're amazing," and "I'm so lucky." He'd ask about my day, actually listen to my answers, remember the small details. He made me feel seen, valued, loved. My friends were still skeptical, Sarah especially, but I brushed off their concerns. They didn't see what I saw. They didn't see how hard he was trying, how much head Ramon, how different he was now. I convinced myself that they were being overprotective, that they were stuck in the past, that they couldn't see what I could see. Someone had done the work, had faced his demons, who was ready to be the partner I deserved. Looking back, I realize I was the one who was blind. The first crack appeared so subtly, I almost didn't notice it. We were at a bar with some of my friends, Sarah, my coworker Marcus, and a few others. It was a casual Friday night, nothing fancy, just drinks and laughter, and the kind of easy conversation that makes you forget about the stress of the week. I was talking to Marcus about a project at work when I felt a hand on my lower back, firm and possessive. I glanced over. He was smiling, but there was something hard in his eyes. "Ready to go?" he asked. "We just got here," I said, confused. "I'm tired. Long week." "Okay. Well, I'm going to stay a bit longer. I haven't seen these guys in a while." His jaw tightened. "I thought we came here together." "We did. But you can head home if you're tired. You'll catch an Uber later." He didn't say anything, just nodded stiffly and let go of my back. But I could feel the shift. The air around us had changed. 20 minutes later, I got a text from Hyen. "It's fine. Stay. Have fun." The words were fine, but the tone wasn't. I could feel the passive aramession dripping through the screen. I ignored it. I told myself he was just tired, that I was overreacting, but when I got home that night, he was sitting on my couch, scrolling through his phone. "Hey," I said, dropping my bag by the door. "I thought you were going home. I have a key, remember?" He didn't look up. "Right. Sorry. It's fine." He finally glanced at me, his expression neutral. "Did you have fun?" "Yeah. It was nice to catch up with everyone." Marcus seemed really interested in whatever you were talking about. There it was, the edge in his voice. "We were talking about work," I said carefully. "Right. Work." He set his phone down. "You two seem close. As a coworker. And a friend. Just a friend? What are you yen-plying?" "Nothing. I'm not yen-plying anything." He stood up, walking toward me. "I just think it's interesting how much you laugh at his jokes. Are you serious right now?" "I'm just saying." He shrugged. But there was nothing casual about it. "I don't like the way he looks at you," He doesn't look at me any kind of way. You're being paranoid. Him being paranoid? His voice rose slightly. Him trying to protect what we have, and you're calling me paranoid? There's nothing to protect us from. Marcus is just a friend. He stared at me for a long moment, then exhaled slowly, rubbing his face with both hands. You're right. I'm sorry. I'm scared, okay? I'm scared of losing you again. And just like that, the anger melted away. He pulled me into a hug, resting his chin on top of my head. I'm sorry, he murmured. I know I'm being ridiculous. I just love you so much. Sometimes it makes me crazy. I hugged Hien back, trying to ignore the knot forming in my stomach. It's okay, I said softly. But you don't have to worry. I'm not going anywhere. He kissed the top of my head. I know. I trust you. But even as he said it, I could feel the lie. After that night, things started to shift. It was small at first. He'd ask who I was texting. He'd want to know where I was going, who I'd be with, when I'd be home. He'd get quiet when I mentioned male co-workers or friends. I told myself it was insecurity, that he was still working through his fear of abandonment, that I just needed to be patient. But patience started to feel like walking on eggshells. I started editing my stories, leaving out details that might upset Hien. I stopped mentioning Marcus at all. I'd check in more frequently when I was out, just to avoid the tense silence when I got home. And I didn't realize what I was doing. I was shrinking again, making myself smaller to make Hien comfortable, sacrificing pieces of myself to keep the peace. The same patterns I swore I'd never fall into again. Section 3. The cracks begin to show. The thing about falling back into old patterns is that you don't notice it happening until you're already trapped. It's like slowly turning up the heat on a frog in a pot of water. The frog doesn't jump out because the change is so ramadul, so subtle, that by the time it realizes what's happening, it's too late. I was the frog, and I didn't even know the water was boiling. It started with my phone. One morning, about 4 months into our reconciliation, I woke up to find Hien scrolling through my messages. I'd fallen asleep on the couch the night before, my phone on the coffee table, unlocked. What are you doing? I asked remotely, sitting up. He didn't even flinch. Just checking the tie-in. On my phone? Mine's dead. He set it down casually, like it was nothing. You want coffee? I stared at the phone for a moment, unease creeping up my spine. But he was already in the kitchen, humming to himself, acting like everything was normal, so I let it go. I told myself I was being paranoid, that he really was just checking the tie-in, that I was projecting my old fears onto this new version of us. But a week later, it happened again. This tie-in I caught Hien mid-scroll, his face illuminated by the screen in the dark bedroom. It was 2 a.m. I'd gotten up to use the bathroom, and when I came back, there he was, sitting on the edge of the bed, my phone in his hands. What the hell are you doing? I said, my voice sharper this time. He looked up, startled, then quickly locked the screen and set it down. I couldn't sleep, he said. I heard it buzz, and I thought it might be important. So you just went through my phone? I wasn't going through it. I was just checking to make sure you were okay. I was literally right here. Sleeping, I know. But he ran a hand through his hair, suddenly looking exhausted. I don't know. I just get worried sometimes about losing you. There it was again. That phrase, I'm scared of losing you. It was starting to sound less like vulnerability and more like an excuse. You can't go through my phone, I said firmly. That's not okay. I know. You're right. I'm sorry. He reached for my hand, his expression pained. I promise I won't do it again. I'm working on it, okay? The jealousy thing. My therapist says it's going to take tie-in. I wanted to be Anrami. I wanted to draw a hard line and tell Hien that this was unacceptable, that trust goes both ways, that I wasn't going to tolerate this kind of behavior. But instead, I just sighed. "Okay," I said quietly. "Just, please don't do it again. I won't. I promise." He pulled me back into bed, wrapping his arms around me, and I let myself believe Hyen. I always let myself believe Hyen. The phone thing didn't stop. He just got better at hiding it. I'd catch Hyen glancing at my screen when I got a notification. He'd accidentally pick up my phone instead of his. He'd ask who I was texting in a tone that sounded casual, but felt like an interrogation. And slowly, I started changing my behavior to avoid the questions. I'd keep my phone face down. I'd step into another room to answer calls. I'd delete message threads that I knew would upset Hyen, not because I was hiding anything, but because I didn't want to deal with the accusations that would follow. I was managing his emotions instead of living my own life, and I didn't even realize it. My friends started to notice the change in me. Sarah invited me to a girls' night, something we used to do every few weeks. But when I mentioned it to Hyen, his face fell. "Oh, I thought we were going to have dinner tonight. We didn't make plans," I said carefully. "I know. But I just assumed. We always spend Friday nights together. I can do both. Girls' night doesn't start until 8. We can have an early dinner." He was quiet for a moment, then shrugged. "It's fine. Go. Have fun." But the way he said it made it clear that it wasn't fine. I ended up canceling on Sarah. I told her I wasn't feeling well, that I'd make it up to her next tie-in. She didn't buy it. "He doesn't want you to go, does he?" she said flatly. "It's not like that." "Then why aren't you coming?" I didn't have a good answer. "Be careful," she said softly. "Please." "I am," I lied. The worst part was how he'd twist things. Whenever I tried to bring up something that bothered me, he'd somehow turn it around until I was the one apologizing. Like the tie-in, I asked Hyen to give me a heads up before coming over. We'd been spending almost every night together, and as much as I cared about Hyen, I needed space. I needed Hyen to myself, to paint, to breathe, to just be. So one evening, I gently suggested that maybe we could spend a night or two apart each week. His face crumpled. "You don't want to see me anymore," he said quietly. "That's not what I'm saying. You're pulling away. I can feel it. I'm not pulling away. I just need a little space sometimes. That's normal. Normal for people who don't love each other. That's not fair. What's not fair is you acting like I'm suffocating you when all I'm trying to do is love you. I didn't say you were suffocating me, but that's what you meant, right?" His voice was rising now. "I'm too much. I'm too needy. I should just leave you alone." "No, that's not." I stopped, exhaling slowly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way." And just like that, I was apologizing for asking for space, for having needs, for existing in a way that didn't revolve entirely around Hyen. He pulled me into a hug, his voice soft again. "I'm sorry too. I just love you so much. Sometimes I forget that you need your own Tien. I'll work on it." But he never did. Then came the night that changed everything. We were at my apartment, cooking dinner together, or at least we were supposed to be. I was chopping vegetables while he sat at the kitchen counter, scrolling through his phone. My phone buzzed on the counter next to Hyen. He glanced at it, then picked it up. "Who's Jake?" he asked. His tone casual, but his eyes sharp. I looked up from the cutting board. "A friend from college." "Why?" "He just texted you, can't wait to see you this weekend." My stomach dropped. I'd completely forgotten. Jake was in town for work, and we'd made plans to Ramab lunch on Saturday, something I'd aramied to weeks ago, before things with my ex had gotten complicated. "We're just getting lunch," I said quickly. "He's only in town for a weekend. You didn't tell me." "I forgot. It's not a big deal." He set the phone down slowly, his jaw tight. "It's not a big deal that you're meeting up with another guy and didn't think to mention it? He's a friend. We haven't seen each other in years." "A friend?" He laughed bitterly. Right. Just like Marcus is a friend. Don't do this. Do what? Ask basic questions about who my girlfriend is spending tie-in with? You're not asking. You're accusing. Because you're being shady. His voice was loud now, echoing in the small kitchen. I set the knife down, my hands shaking. I'm not being shady. You're being controlling. The word hung in the air between us. Controlling. Eid said it, and I couldn't take it back. His expression shifted hurt, then anger, then something colder. Controlling, he repeated slowly. That's what you think I am? I didn't mean. No, you meant it. He stood up, pacing. I try to protect you. I try to make sure you're safe. I try to be a good partner, and you call me controlling. That's not protecting me. That's what? Caring, loving you, wanting to be close to you? It's suffocating. The words burst out before I could stop them. I can't breathe anymore. I can't do anything without you questioning me, accusing me, making me feel like I'm doing something wrong. He stopped pacing, stared at me. Then his face crumpled, and he sank back onto the stool, his head in his hands. You're right, he said, his voice breaking. You're right. I'm a piece of shit. I'm doing it again. I'm ruining everything. And just like that, the script flipped. He wasn't Anrami anymore. He was devastated. I don't know how to stop, he continued, his voice muffled. I don't know how to fix myself. Maybe it'll never be good enough for you. Maybe you should just leave before I hurt you again. I stood there, frozen. The anger draining out of me and being replaced by something worse, guilt. I don't want to leave, I heard myself say. You should. I don't want to. He looked up at me, his eyes red. Then help me, please. I'm trying so hard, but I can't do this alone. And I believed Hien. I walked over, wrapped my arms around Hien, and promised he'd help. I promised I wouldn't give up on Hien. I promised I wouldn't give up on us, even though every cell in my body was screaming at me to run. I canceled lunch with Jake. I didn't even give a reason. Just sent a quick text. Hey, so sorry, something came up. Rain check? He replied with a thumbs up emoji. And I felt a tiny piece of myself disappear, because that's what I was doing now, disappearing, little by little, decision by decision, boundary by boundary. I was erasing myself to keep Hien happy, to keep the peace, to prove that I loved Hien. Sarah stopped calling as much. Marcus kept his distance at work. My painting supplies gathered dust in the corner of my apartment. I told myself it was temporary, that once he felt more secure, once his therapy pro-remessed, once he trusted me more, things would get better. But deep down, I knew the truth. Things weren't going to get better. They were only going to get worse. And I was too far in to see the way out. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. Isn't it strange how the worst moments of your life can happen on the most ordinary days? Not a Friday night, not a holiday, not some dramatic, movie-worthy moment. Just a regular Tuesday in the middle of March. I was at work, finishing up a report that was due by the end of the day. My phone was on silent, face down on my desk. I'd learned to keep it that way, out of sight, out of mind. One less thing to worry about. But when I finally picked it up during my lunch break, my stomach dropped. 17 missed calls, 12 text messages, all from Hien. My hands started shaking as I scrolled through them. Hey, where are you? Why aren't you answering? I know you're at work, but you usually text me by now. Is everything okay? I'm starting to worry. Please just let me know you're okay. Why are you ignoring me? This isn't funny. I'm coming to your office. The last message was sent 10 minutes ago. I immediately called Hien back, my heart pounding. He answered on the first ring. Where the hell have you been? His voice was sharp. Anrami. I was working. My phone was on silent. For 3 hours, I was in back-to-back meetings. I didn't. You couldn't take 2 seconds to text me back? I didn't see the messages until just now. Bullshit. I closed my eyes, pressing my fingers against my temple. I'm not doing this right now. I'm at work. Oh, so now I'm bothering you? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. His voice was cold now. I get it. I'm annoying. I'm too much. I should just leave you alone. Please don't do this. Do what? Care about you? Worry when you disappear for hours? I didn't disappear. I was working. There was a long pause. Then he said quietly, I'm outside your building. My blood ran cold. What? I'm outside. I need to see you. You drove to my office? I was worried. So you just showed up? I needed to make sure you were okay. I stood up from my desk, remabbing my jacket. In coming down, I hung up before he could respond. He was leaning against his car when I got outside. Arms crossed, jaw tight. A few of my coworkers were standing near the entrance, smoking, and I could feel their eyes on us as I walked over. What are you doing here? I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. I told you. I was worried. You can't just show up at my job like this. Why not? Because its eyes stopped, glancing at the people watching us. Can we talk about this later? No. We're talking about it now. He pushed off the car, stepping closer. Why didn't you answer your phone? I already told you, and I don't believe you. That's not my problem. His eyes narrowed. Excuse me? I can't spend my entire day checking in with you. I have a job. I have responsibilities. And I'm not one of them? That's not what I said, but it's what you meant. He laughed bitterly. I should have known. You're pulling away again. Just like before. I'm not pulling away. You're smothering me. The words came out harsher than I intended, and I saw something flash across his face, hurt, then anger, then something darker. Smothering you. He repeated slowly. I need space. I need you to trust me. I do trust you. No, you don't. You go through my phone. You show up at my work. You text me constantly. That's not trust. I'm trying to protect you. From what? From making the same mistakes I did. His voice rose, and now people were definitely staring. From throwing away what we have. Lower your voice. Don't tell me what to do. You need to leave. I'm not going anywhere until we figure this out. There's nothing to figure out. I'm going back to work. I turned to walk away, but he remabbed my arm. Not hard, not violently, but firmly enough that I stopped. Let go of me, I said quietly. Not until you listen. Let go. For a moment, we just stood there, frozen. I could see my coworkers watching, could feel the tension radiating off Hyen, could hear my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. Then, slowly, he released me. Fine, he said. Go. Run away like you always do. I didn't respond. I just walked back into the building, my whole body shaking. I couldn't focus for the rest of the day. I kept replaying the scene outside, the look in his eyes, the ramip on my arm, the way he raised his voice in front of my coworkers. Marcus stopped by my desk around 3. Hey, he said carefully. You okay? I forced a smile. Yeah. Why? I saw what happened outside. That was intense. It's fine. Just a misunderstanding. He didn't look convinced, but he nodded. All right. Well, if you need anything, thanks. He left, and I went back to staring at my computer screen, seeing nothing. When I got home that evening, I found Hyen sitting on my couch. Again. How did you get in? I asked, even though I knew the answer. He held up the key I'd given Hyen months ago. We need to talk. I don't want to talk right now. Too bad. He stood up, blocking my path to the bedroom. You embarrassed me today. I embarrassed you? You made me look crazy in front of your coworkers. You showed up unannounced and ramabbed me. You made yourself look crazy. I barely touched you. You remabbed my arm. Because you were walking away from me, I had to get back to work. No, you wanted to get away from me. There's a difference. I dropped my bag on the floor, exhausted. I can't do this. Can't do what? This. Us. Whatever this is? He went very still. What are you saying? I'm saying I need a break. A break. Yes. From me. From everything. He laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. Unbelievable. I just need some space to think. You don't need space. You need an excuse to leave. That's not true, isn't it? He stepped closer. This is what you do. The second things get hard, you bail. Things aren't hard. They're toxic. The word hung in the air like a ramanad. Toxic. His face went pale, then red. Toxic, he repeated. I'm toxic. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. You've been thinking it this whole time, haven't you? That I'm some kind of monster, that I haven't changed at all. You haven't. The words were out before I could stop them. True. Honest. Brutal. His expression crumpled, and for a moment, I thought he was going to cry. But then, his face hardened. You know what? He said quietly. You're right, I haven't changed. Because every tie-in I try, every tie-in I open up, every tie-in I show you how much I care, you punish me for it. That's not. It is. His voice was rising again. I go to therapy. I work on myself. I try to be better. And you still look at me like I'm the villain, because you're acting like one. I'm acting like someone who's terrified of losing the person he loves. This isn't love, I shouted. Love doesn't feel like this. The silence that followed was deafening. We stared at each other, both breathing hard, both realizing that we'd crossed a line we couldn't uncross. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get out of my apartment. We need to finish this. There's nothing to finish. We're done. You don't mean that. Yes, I do. Baby, please. He reached for me, and I stepped back. Don't touch me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'll do better. I'll give you space. It's too late. It's not. Please. I can't lose you again. You already have. I walked past Hyen to the door and opened it, holding it wide. Leave. He didn't move. Just stood there, staring at me like he couldn't believe this was happening. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the police. That got through to Hyen. He walked slowly to the door, then paused in the threshold. You're making a mistake, he said. The mistake was letting you back in. He flinched like id slapped Hyen. Then he left. I closed the door, locked it, and slid down to the floor. And I cried. Not because I missed Hyen, but because id let it happen again. It let Hyen back in. It ignored the red flags. It sacrificed myself to save someone who didn't want to be saved. And I was furious at myself for it. I thought it was over. I really did. But ending things with someone like Hyen is never that simple. The texts started that night. I'm sorry. Please don't do this. I can't live without you. I'm not okay. I blocked his number. So he called from different numbers, friends, phones, work phones, numbers I didn't recognize. I blocked those too. So he started emailing, long, rambling messages about how much he loved me, how he couldn't survive without me, how I was the only good thing in his life. I filtered his emails to spam. So he showed up at my apartment. The first tie-in, I didn't answer the door. I just sat on my couch, headphones on, pretending I wasn't home. He knocked for 20 minutes straight, then left. The second tie-in, he didn't knock. He just sat outside my door, talking through it. I know you're in there. Please. Just talk to me. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I called the police. They came, talked to Hyen, told Hyen to leave. He did, but he came back the next night. And the night after that, by the end of the week, I had a restraining order. And that's when things got really bad. Because a piece of paper doesn't stop someone who's obsessed. It just makes them more desperate. He started showing up at my office. Not inside, had learned his lesson, but outside. Waiting by my car. watching from across the street. My boss had to walk me out a few tie-ins. Marcus offered to as well, but I was too embarrassed to accept. Then came the messages to my friends. He reached out to Sarah, to Marcus, to people I barely even talked to, telling them I was going through something, that I needed help, that he was worried about me. Some of them believed Hyen, most didn't. Sarah called me immediately. He contacted me, she said, her voice tight with anger. He said you're having a breakdown, that you need support. I'm fine. I know you are. I'm just telling you so you know what he's saying. Thank you. Do you need me to come over? No. I'm okay. Are you sure? I wasn't, but I said yes anyway. The final straw came 2 weeks after id ended things. I was lying in bed, scrolling mindlessly through my phone, when I got a notification from Instagram. Head tagged me in a post. My stomach sank as I opened it. It was a photo of us from a few months ago, smiling, happy, his arm around me. The caption read, "I don't know how to let you go. I'm sorry I wasn't enough. I hope you find the happiness you deserve. I'm not sure you'll find mine. Goodbye. Goodbye." The words sent chills down my spine. I immediately called Hien. No answer. I called again. Still nothing. My mind raced. Was this a suicide threat? A manipulation tactic? Both? I didn't know. But I couldn't take the chance. I called his best friend, a guy named Tyler who id met a few tie-ins. "Hey," I said when he answered. "Have you heard from Hyen tonight?" Yeah, like an hour ago." "Why?" He posted something concerning. "What kind of concerning?" "Like a goodbye post." There was a pause. "Shit. Okay. He'll go check on Hyen. Thank you." "Yeah. Hey, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Has been rough lately. I'm sorry he's putting you through this. It's not your fault. Still, I'll call you back." He did. About 30 minutes later. "Hez fine," Tyler said. "Drunk, but fine." "Hez at his apartment. Did he?" "No. He didn't do anything. Hez just being dramatic." I exhaled. "Okay. Thank you. No problem. And listen, I know he's my friend, but what he's doing isn't okay. You deserve better." I didn't know what to say to that. So I just said, "Thank you," and I hung up. Then I deleted Instagram and Facebook and every other app where he could reach me. I changed my number. I started parking in a different spot at work. I took different routes home. I became a ghost, because that was the only way to escape Hyen. It took 3 months before I could sleep through the night again. 3 months of jumping at every sound outside my door. 3 months of checking over my shoulder in parking lots. 3 months of feeling like I was being watched, even when I knew I wasn't. Trauma does that to you. It rewires your brain, makes you see danger in every shadow, threat in every unexpected knock. But slowly, painfully, incrementally slowly, I started to rebuild. It started with therapy. It stopped going after we got back together. Head said he supported it. Said it was Raymit that I was taking care of my mental health. But somehow, there was always a conflict. A dinner Head planned. A movie Head already bought tickets for. A bad day where he really needed me. So id canceled sessions. Rescheduled. Eventually just stopped booking them altogether. I told myself I didn't need therapy anymore. I was happy. Things were good, but I did need it. I needed it more than ever. So I called my old therapist, Dr. Martinez, and asked if she had any openings. "I was wondering when I'd hear from you," she said gently. That almost broke me right there, because she'd known I'd come back. She'd known I was in trouble, and she'd been waiting. Our first session back was brutal. I sat on her couch, the same couch I'd sat on 2 years ago, when I was trying to heal from Hien, the first tie-in, and I couldn't even look at her. "Tell me what happened," she said, and I did. I told her everything. About the flowers and the apologies, about the therapy he claimed to be doing, about how good it felt at first, how right, how much I believed had changed. And then I told her about the rest. The phone checking, the accusations, the showing up at my work, the ramab, the texts, the posts, the weeks of looking over my shoulder. By the end, I was crying so hard I could barely breathe. "I'm so stupid," I said through sobs. I knew better. I knew what he was. And I still let Hyen back in. Dr. Martinez handed me a tissue and waited for me to calm down before speaking. "You're not stupid," she said firmly. "You're human. And he's very, very good at what he does." What does he do? He manipulates. He finds the exact thing you need to hear and he says it. He finds the exact wound you need healed and he pretends to be the cure. That's not love. That's strategy. I looked up at her, tears still streaming down my face. How do I make sure I never do this again? We start by understanding why you did it in the first place. And so we did. Over the next few weeks, we unpacked everything. My childhood, my relationship with my parents, my fear of abandonment, my tendency to see potential in people instead of reality. We talked about how I'd been conditioned to believe that love required sacrifice, that if I wasn't bending, I wasn't trying hard enough, that my needs were secondary to keeping the peace. We talked about trauma bonds, how the cycle of tension, explosion, and reconciliation creates a chemical dependency that feels like love but isn't. We talked about red flags I'd missed, boundaries I'd failed to set, and the voice inside me that I'd learned to ignore. That voice, Dr. Martinez said during one session, the one that told you something was wrong, that's your intuition, and you need to start listening to it. But what if I'm wrong? What if you're right? That question stayed with me, because the truth was, I was almost always right. My gut had been screaming at me from the beginning. From the first message, from the first flowers, from the first tie-in, he checked my phone. But I'd silenced it, rationalized it away. Told myself I was being paranoid, untrusting, damaged. I wasn't damaged. I was aware. And awareness is not a flaw. Sarah came back into my life like a tidal wave. The day I texted her just a simple, "I'm sorry. You were right. Can we talk?" She showed up at my apartment with wine, takeout, and a fierce hug that made me cry all over again. "I'm so mad at you," she said, pulling back to look at me. "But I'm also so glad you're okay. I'm sorry I pushed you away." "You didn't push me away." He did. And I know the difference. We spent the entire night talking. I told her everything, things I hadn't even told Dr. Martinez yet, about how small I'd felt, how scared, how ashamed. "Do you know what he told me?" Sarah said at one point, her jaw tight. "When he reached out, he said you were being manipulated by your friends, that we were poisoning you against Hyen." He said that? Word for word. He said you were fragile and we were taking advantage of you. I felt sick. "I'm so sorry. Don't apologize. You didn't do this." He did. She reached over and squeezed my hand. "But I need you to promise me something." "What?" "If you ever think about taking Hyen back again, or anyone like Hyen, you call me first. Before you respond, before you engage, you call me. I promise." And I meant it, because I knew now that I couldn't trust myself when it came to Hyen. My heart wanted to see the best in people. My heart wanted to believe in second chances, but my heart had almost gotten me killed. So I needed people like Sarah, people who loved me enough to see clearly when I couldn't. I started painting again. It was small at first. Just sketches in a notebook I'd bought on a Hyen at Target. Simple lines, basic shapes, nothing significant. But it felt good. It felt like reclaiming a part of myself that I'd lost. One evening, I set up my easel in the living room. The same easel that had been gathering dust in the corner for months, and I just started. I didn't have a plan. I just let the brush move. What emerged was chaotic, dark, anatomy, a tangle of red and black, sharp edges and broken lines, Something that looked like it was either falling apart or coming together, I couldn't tell which. When I stepped back and looked at it, I started crying because I realized it was me. It was everything Id felt over the past few months. The confusion, the pain, the fracturing, the slow, agonizing process of putting the pieces back together. I took a photo and sent it to Dr. Martinez with a caption, "I think Im's starting to heal." She responded almost immediately, "You absolutely are. The hardest part wasn't the fear, or the sadness, or the anger. It was the shame. I was embarrassed that Id let it happen again. Embarrassed that Id ignored everyone's warnings. Embarrassed that I'd been so easily fooled. I felt like I should have known better, and part of me did know better. But knowing isn't enough when you're dealing with someone who's skilled at manipulation. It's like trying to win a game where the other person is constantly changing the rules. You can be smart, aware, and cautious, and still lose because the game was rigged from the start. Dr. Martinez helped me see that. "You didn't fail," she said. "He did. He failed at being a decent human being. That's not on you, but I chose to go back. You chose to believe someone could change. That's not a flaw. That's hope. And hope is a beautiful thing. He just weaponized it. I held on to that because I needed to believe that having hope, being open, wanting to see the good in people, those weren't weaknesses. They were just parts of me that needed better protection. I started saying no, not just to he was blocked, gone, a ghost in my rearview mirror, but to everything else, to plans I didn't want to make, to people who drained me, to expectations that weren't mine. I said no to my mom when she asked why I wasn't dating anyone. I said no to my boss when he tried to pile extra work on my plate. I said no to friends who wanted me to just get back out there. And every time I said no, I felt a little stronger. Because for so long, Id equated saying no with being difficult, uncooperative, selfish. But saying no isn't selfish. It's self-preservation, and I was finally learning the difference. 6 months after I ended things, I ran into Hyen. It was completely by accident. I was at a coffee shop, not our coffee shop, a different one, waiting for my order when I saw Hyen walk in. My entire body went cold. He hadn't seen me yet. He was looking at his phone, standing in line, looking ordinary, like just another guy getting coffee on a Saturday morning. I could have left. I could have remabbed my drink and walked out before he noticed me, but I didn't. I stayed, not because I wanted to talk to Hyen, not because I missed Hyen, but because I realized something in that moment. I wasn't afraid of Hyen anymore. He looked up, and our eyes met. I saw the recognition flash across his face. Then, surprise. Then something else, something I couldn't quite read. He started walking toward me. My heart was pounding, but I didn't move. He stopped a few feet away, hands in his pockets, looking uncertain. "Hey," he said. "Hi." Silence. "How are you?" he asked. "Good. That's good. I'm glad." Another silence. He shifted his weight. I've been thinking about you. About us. About everything." I didn't respond. "I'm sorry," he continued. "For how things ended. For how I acted. I was in a really bad place, and I took it out on you." I looked at Hyen, really looked at Hyen, and I realized something. He hadn't changed. Not really. This was the same script, the same apology, the same performance, and I wasn't falling for it anymore. "Okay," I said gently. He blinked. "Okay? Yeah. Okay. I accept your apology." He looked confused, like he'd expected more. An argument, tears, anger, something, but I didn't have anything left to give Hyen. "I should go," I said, remabbing my coffee from the counter. "Wait," he reached out like he was going to touch my arm, then thought better of it. "Can we talk? Maybe get coffee sometime?" "No, just coffee. That's all. I just want to." "No," I said again. Firmer this time. He stared at me, and I saw it, the flash of anger, the tightening of his jaw, the familiar hardness in his eyes. There he was, the real Hyen. "Fine," he said coldly. "I was just trying to be nice. I know." I walked past Hyen, out the door, into the bright morning sunlight, and I didn't look back, not even once. That night, I wrote in my journal something Dr. Martinez had suggested I start doing. I wrote about the coffee shop, about how id felt seeing Hyen, about how proud I was of myself for walking away. And then I wrote something I'd been avoiding for months. I forgive myself for going back, for ignoring the warnings, for believing he could change, for loving someone who didn't deserve it. I forgave myself. And that, more than anything else, was what set me free. It's been a year now, a full year since I ended things, a full year since I started putting myself back together. I won't lie and say I'm completely healed. Trauma doesn't work that way. There are still days when I check my locks 3 times before bed. Still moments when I see someone who looks like Hyen and my heart races. Still nights when I wake up from dreams where I'm back in that apartment, back in that cycle, back in that version of myself who didn't know how to leave. But those moments are fewer now, and I'm learning to be gentle with myself when they happen. I'm learning that healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about interamating it, understanding it, using it to build something stronger. I'm learning that I'm not broken. I'm just someone who loved the wrong person at the wrong time, and that's okay, because I'm also someone who got out, someone who chose herself, someone who's learning every single day what it means to be whole. I still paint. I'm actually working on a series now, pieces about transformation, about breaking, about becoming. Sarah and I are closer than ever. Marcus and I are still friends, though I've learned to set clearer boundaries at work. I'm dating again, though I'm taking it slow. I'm learning what healthy looks like, what respect feels like, what it's like to be with someone who doesn't make me feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And most importantly, I'm learning to listen to that voice inside me, the one that knows when something's wrong, that speaks up when a boundary is crossed, that says no without guilt and yes without fear. I'm learning to trust myself again, and that's the ramiatest gift I could've given myself. If you're reading this, and you're in a situation like I was, maybe you're thinking about going back to someone who hurt you, or maybe you're already back and starting to see the cracks. Please hear me. You deserve better. You deserve someone who doesn't make you feel like you're too much or not enough. You deserve someone who respects your boundaries, who trusts you, who doesn't try to control you. You deserve to feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, it's time to go. I know it's hard. I know you love them. I know you want to believe they've changed, but love isn't supposed to hurt like this. Love isn't supposed to make you smaller. And change, real change, takes years, not months. It takes consistent action, not just words. It takes accountability, not just apologies. If someone truly loves you, they'll respect your decision to walk away. They'll give you space. They'll work on themselves without making it your responsibility. And if they don't, then they never loved you in the first place. They loved the idea of you, the version of you that didn't challenge them, didn't have boundaries, didn't say no. But that's not love, that's possession. And you don't owe anyone the right to possess you. So here I am, 1 year later, still healing, still ramoing, still learning, but I'm free. And freedom, I've learned, is worth more than any relationship ever could be. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here, in this space with me. If any of this resonated with you, I hope you'll take care of yourself tonight. Be kind to yourself. Remember that you're worth protecting. And remember, walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. And that's the bravest thing you can do.